Basic life lesson. In business, politics, anything else, no risk, no reward. It's just how it works. I learned that in my experience as an entrepreneur. The first business I ever built, and I've built multiple successful companies, but the first and to date most successful one is a company called Roivant, where we had a business plan that in retrospect was bold. It was contrarian. We were going to develop medicines that Big Pharma had actually decided to abandon. So you have these giant pharmaceutical companies, they behave like lemmings. They kind of move in packs. And all the big pharma companies decided certain therapeutic categories were hot and certain ones were not. And so my business model back in 2014 was to say that some of those that pharma had dropped, some of them still held promise, and we were going to develop them, even though it was expensive, even though it involved risk. And enough of those could succeed to build a really successful company that actually helped a lot of patients who benefited from medicines that would never have otherwise seen the light of day. That was the bet we took. Well, guess what? The first medicine we developed was, the first major one at least, was a drug for Alzheimer's disease. This is the graveyard of drug development for Big Pharma. 99.7% of drugs ever tested for Alzheimer's disease have failed. And it turned out Big Pharma, one of these companies, had developed this drug through phase 2. It had a glimmer of hope, certainly, had a decent shot in certain types of patients it looked like, and a lot of their scientists believed it had promise, yet they had abandoned it. So we took a bet and said, we're going to develop that drug. It took a lot of money, took a lot of effort, took a lot of people working on it. Well, a few years in, it turned out that that drug, after we took it through phase 3, failed. It was one of the first drugs I had developed. Boy, that was tough for the company in its early going. But that was the same company that with that same model and same conviction in our strategy eventually developed drugs in other areas that pharma had abandoned, pursuing indications like uterine fibroids and endometriosis for women's health conditions that had been totally ignored by Big Pharma. In fact, we also developed another therapy for congenital athymia, a rare congenital disease where 100% of kids born with this condition die by the age of 3. And yet with treatment, now it's FDA approved, 70% of those kids now live lives of a normal duration. Another one for men with prostate cancer. The list goes on. And at the end of the day, what happened with Roivant? Today, it's one of the most successful biotech companies founded in the 21st century. There's only 5 or 6 that even in the 21st century that have been founded reached a market cap of public company of $10 billion or greater. My company, Roivant, just over 10 years in, is one of them. So that's the moral of the story. You want to achieve success, you got to be contrarian. You got to be right. You got to be patient. Sometimes those risks take a longer time to ultimately pay off. But that's the way you do it. And it doesn't have to be in biotech. Whatever field you're in, whatever field you know. See, I knew a little something about this because I had studied biology, but maybe you've had a hobby in or studied something else. Whatever that field in, that's my advice to you, is you got to run where the pack isn't running. You got to have conviction. Stay patient, work hard, and in the long run, that's the path to achieving success at the biggest scale possible. I wish you well.